She thinks she knows your reactions. Anger, frustration, sharp words that fade as quickly as they're spoken. But what happens when you give her none of that? No fire, no drama, just calm detachment. That's when things shift. It doesn't just surprise her, it unsettles her. Because instead of fighting for control, you've removed yourself from the game entirely. In this video, we're diving into why indifference carries more weight than rage and how a composed Stoic presence can leave a lasting mark she never saw coming. And if you find value in these insights, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the lessons that can change how you move in life and relationships. Let's get started. The quiet that echoes. Number 1. The quiet that echoes. Indifference is not the explosion she expects. It's not the shouting match, the slammed door, or the sharp words that can be dismissed later as heat of the moment. No, indifference is a quiet withdrawal that doesn't need permission, explanation, or an audience. You don't leave with fireworks. You simply walk away calmly as if you've decided that your energy is better spent elsewhere. That kind of silence is unsettling. Anger, for all its noise, is easier to process because it gives her something to push against. But when you're indifferent, there's nothing for her to fight, just an empty space she didn't think you would leave. Imagine two men ending a relationship. One yells, sends long messages, demands closure. Sharrows her eyes, tells herself he's just emotional, and moves on. The other man says very little, packs his dignity, and leaves without bitterness. Days later, she's still wondering what's going through his mind. That's the thing about indifference. It plants a question mark in her thoughts that keeps growing. When there's no dramatic ending to focus on, she's left with herself, and that's often the most uncomfortable place to be. From a Stoic perspective, this is the discipline of restraint. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the value of staying unmoved by what doesn't align with virtue. In relationships, this means you don't hand over your peace in exchange for temporary emotional release. You understand that not everything needs a response, and that sometimes the truest form of strength is to let the silence speak on your behalf. You're not ignoring her to hurt her. You're choosing not to engage in something that would drain you. The echo of your quiet isn't just about absence. It's about what that absence represents. It says you've reached a point where you no longer need to prove yourself, defend your worth, or chase validation. It communicates that your sense of self is intact, regardless of her approval or attention. And in that realization, she feels something deeper than the sting of an argument. She feels the weight of no longer having an influence over you. Over time, she may replay moments in her head, looking for signs she missed, wondering if there's a way to pull you back. But by then, you've already shifted your focus to better things. That's the quiet that echoes not because you slammed the door, but because you left it open and chose not to walk back through it. When she can't predict you. Number 2, when she can't predict you. There was a time when she could read you like a book. She knew which words would set you off, which actions would get you chasing, and which silences were only temporary before you came running back. She had a map of your emotions, and she used it to navigate every argument, every disagreement, every moment. Off tension, but now something's changed. You've taken that map away. Your calm is no longer the pause before a storm. It's the new weather entirely. This unsettles her more than anger ever could. Anger was familiar territory. She knew how to handle it, even use it to her advantage. She could twist it into guilt, frame herself as the victim, or simply wait for you to come down from the high of your emotions. But indifference, calm, that doesn't break under provocation. That's dangerous because it leaves her without control over the game she once played so well. Picture this. Before, if she sent a cutting remark, you'd defend yourself. If she pulled away, you'd close the distance. If she tested your patience, you'd prove your commitment. Now she pushes and you don't move. She tries to bait you and you don't bite. It's as if her old script has been burned and she's left ad-living in a play she no longer directs. That's when frustration turns inward, not because you're punishing her, but because she's losing her grip on the predictability she once relied on. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you'll find strength." In this context, you're not just controlling your temper, you're removing her ability to dictate your emotional state. You're no longer a puppet reacting to her pulls. You're Theon holding your own strings. And here's the beauty of unpredictability. When it comes from a place of self-control, it forces respect. She may not admit it out loud, but deep down, she knows. You've changed the rules. You've shifted from being a man who can be emotionally manipulated to one who decides when and how he engages. You've shown that your peace is not up for negotiation and that you will not dance to a tune you didn't choose. Your calm becomes the most unpredictable thing about you, not because you're acting mysteriously, but because you've stopped giving her their actions she expects. And that absence of predictability, it's not chaos, it's freedom. And it's the very thing that leaves her wondering what you'll do next without ever getting an answer. If this shift in power dynamics resonates with you, take a moment to think about how it plays out in your own life. Have you ever noticed how people's behavior changes when they can no longer predict or control your reactions? That's the quiet strength of emotional sovereignty. It doesn't just protect your peace, it changes the entire game. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments, or simply type, "Strength lives in my stillness." And if you're finding value in this message, don't forget to like the video so we can keep sharing these Stoic lessons with more people who need them. The mirror she avoids. Number 3, the mirror she avoids. Think of a pond on a still morning. No ripples, no movement, just a perfect reflection of whatever leans over it. That's what happens when you stop reacting. You become still. And in that stillness, she sees herself with clarity she didn't expect and probably doesn't welcome. Before your emotions blurred, the surface, your frustration, your defense, your attempts to explain all gave her something to focus on besides her own actions. Now the water is calm, and the only thing staring back is her own reflection. When you were engaged in the back and forth, she could point to your tone, your words, or your mistakes. It was a convenient shield. But once you remove yourself from the cycle, once you stop being the emotional sponge, there's no shield left. She can't hide behind your reactions because there aren't any. The conversation becomes one-sided, and silence has a way of making uncomfortable truths louder. It's not revenge. It's not a tactic to make her squirm. It's a choice rooted in self-respect. You've decided your peace matters more than proving a point. This is where Stoic philosophy fits like a key in a lock. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By choosing not to react, you're not avoiding reality. You're controlling your contribution to it. You've built walls around your inner citadel, and no chaos is allowed inside." And here's what unsettles her most. She can't control what the mirror shows. When you were reactive, she could influence the picture. Now the image issues alone, raw and unfiltered. If her behavior was selfish, manipulative, or careless, she's the only one left to face it. People don't like mirrors when the reflection tells them they're the problem. So she may try to look away, distract herself, or find someone else's reflection to stand in. But deep down, she remembers. Over time, she may even come to realize that your silence wasn't cold. It was clarity. You weren't punishing her. You were protecting yourself. And maybe, just maybe, she'll learn that when a man stops absorbing the storm, he forces the storm to see itself for what it really is. That's the mirror she avoids and the truth she can't unsee. No more feeding the fire, number 4. No more feeding the fire. Every fire needs something to keep it alive. Oxygen, wood, fuel. Arguments work the same way. They feed on your reactions, your defenses, your need to be understood. As long as you keep tossing emotional logs into the flames, they'll keep burning. But the moment you stop, when you pull back your attention and refuse to feed it, the fire begins to die, no matter how fiercely it once raged. She's used to the cycle. A spark of disagreement turns into a heated exchange. Voices rise, emotions flare, and even if it ends badly, there's an energy to it. That energy is addictive because it proves she can still reach you, still get under your skin. But when you stop reacting, when her provocation is met with calm silence, the dynamic shifts completely. Without your fuel, there's nothing left but smoke curling into the air, fading until there's nothing at all. This isn't about punishing her, and it's not some cold game of control. It's about recognizing which battles are worth your time and which ones simply drain you without resolution. Epictetus put it plainly. Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. When you refuse to engage, you're not just avoiding the fight, you're reclaiming ownership of your emotions. You're making a choice. My peace is more valuable than this. Argument. Imagine two scenarios. In the first, she throws an accusation your way and you immediately defend yourself, explaining every detail, raising your voice as frustration grows. Hours later, you're drained and nothing's resolved. In the second scenario, she throws the same accusation, but you respond with calm, maybe even a simple, "I'm not discussing this right now," and you walk away. There's no heat for her to match, no fire to build on. It ends before it can consume you. This lack of fuel teaches a quiet lesson. Not every spark deserves your attention. Some flames burn bright but fast, leaving nothing but ash in their wake. A Stoic man learns to step back before the fire spreads, knowing that preserving his strength for battles that truly matter is the smarter path. And here's the hidden power in this. When you stop feeding the fire, you also stop validating the chaos. Without their action she's expecting, the pattern begins to break. She's left standing in the quiet, realizing that the only energy left in the room is hers. That's when she begins to see the truth. Your indifference isn't coldness, it's control. And control, once taken back, is the one thing you never give away again. A shift in the balance. Number 5. A shift in the balance. There was a time when your world seemed to orbit around hers. You were the constant, always reaching out, always checking in, always making sure she knew she mattered. Your calls were the soundtrack to her day. Your messages their assurance she could count on. She didn't have to wonder where your focus was because it was always right there on her. But now, the axis has shifted. Your time, your energy, your attention, they've turned towards something else, and that subtle redirection changes everything. At first, she might not notice. She assumes you'll text. Later, call tomorrow, make plans for the weekend. But as the days go by, she starts to feel it the space you've created. Where there used to be constant engagement, there's now quiet. That quiet isn't empty, though. It's filled with your new focus, your work, your training, your friends, your purpose. You're investing in the things that build you rather than pouring it all into someone who may not have valued it fully. And here's the part she didn't expect. This absence feels louder than any argument could. Anger can be brushed off as temporary. A fight can be rationalized away. But when a man's attention shifts from her to himself, it's not just a moment. It's a signal. It says you've remembered who you are outside of her and you're acting like it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to focus on what's within his control, his actions, his discipline, his purpose. You've done the same. You're not ignoring her to hurt her. You're simply refusing to abandon your own growth for the sake of keeping someone else comfortable. You've taken your energy from a place of dependency and redirected it towards self-mastery. This change in balance does more than protect your peace. It forces our evaluation on her end. She was used to being at the center of your universe. Now she's just one part of a much bigger picture. That shift is unsettling because it means you're no longer defined by your role in her life. And whether she admits it or not, she feels the loss of that position. In the end, it's not about making her miss you. It's about reclaiming the focus you gave away too freely. And once you do, you realize something important. A man anchored in his own purpose is far more powerful than one orbiting someone else's. That's the balance you've restored, and it's the one thing she can't control. So now, the question is, what does this shift mean for you? It's more than just changing where you put your time. It's redefining the way you value yourself. Maybe you felt the peace that comes from no longer chasing what doesn't chase you. Drop your thoughts in the comments or simply type, "My focus is mine," to mark the moment you chose yourself. Your perspective might just be the insight another man needs to hear right now. Calm as a challenge. Number 6, calm as a challenge. Some people don't just stumble into emotional chaos. They create it. It's their playground, the place where they feel most in control. If they can push your buttons, get a rise out of you, make you defend yourself, or lose your temper, they win. Not because the argument was worth winning, but because they proved they could pull you off balance. But when you refuse to give them that satisfaction, when you stay calm, no matter how hard they try, you take away the very game they were playing. At first, she might think your calm is temporary. She'll test you, maybe with sharp words, maybe with subtle jabs, maybe with silence designed to provoke you. Before, these tactics might have worked. They would have drawn you into the storm, made you match her intensity, given her the familiar rhythm she could control. But now, nothing. You don't flinch. You don't fight. You don't dance to the tune she's playing. That's when she realizes your calm isn't a pause before the reaction. It is their action. This is where the Stoic mindset becomes your armor. A Stoic warrior isn't unshakable because life never throws him challenges. He's unshakable because he refuses to let outside forces dictate his inner state. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Your calm isn't weakness, it's discipline. It's proof that your emotions belong to you, not to anyone else's provocations. And here's the irony. Your calm doesn't make you forgettable. It makes you unforgettable. She can ignore a shouting match. She can dismiss an angry message, but she can't shake. The image of you sitting there, steady, unaffected, impossible to pull into her storm. That kind of composure gets under the skin because it forces her to confront the truth. She no longer has control over you. Over time, she may even come to see that your calm is not a wall meant to shut her out, but a standard you've set for yourself. You've chosen peace over chaos, clarity over impulse, and in doing so, you've made yourself the one variable she can't predict, the one challenge she can't seem to overcome. In the end, your calm becomes the quiet question in her mind. Why can't I shake him? And the answer is simple. You've built a fortress within yourself, and no one gets to storm it without your permission. That's the challenge she'll keep losing long after you've moved on. Silence that demands respect. Number 7. Silence that demands respect. Silence can be misunderstood by those who only know how to measure strength through noise. To some, not speaking means surrender, retreat, or weakness. But your silence isn't born from defeat. It's born from choice. You've decided that not every situation deserves your voice, and not every person has earned access to your thoughts. That's not avoidance, that's power. She may have grown used to the reassurance of your words, your explanations, your check-ins, your defenses when she questioned you. Even in disagreements, your voice was a sign that she still mattered enough to get a response. But now you've removed that signal. The silence is deliberate and it carries a weight no argument could match. It forces her to face the possibility that she's no longer entitled to the constant presence she once took for granted. Seneca wrote that silence is a lesson learned from the many sufferings of life. The Stoic man understands that his worth isn't proven through verbal declarations. It's reflected in the life he lives, the standards he keeps, and the boundaries he enforces. Your silence says, I know my value and I won't waste it on someone who doesn't see it. And here's where the respect comes in. You're not withdrawing to play games, and you're not trying to make her chase. You're making a statement without uttering a single word. My presence is not guaranteed. That realization plants a quiet urgency in her mind. If she doesn't handle her place in your life with care, she could lose it and lose it permanently. Imagine walking into a room where someone you once argued with sits in complete composure. They don't glare, they don't fidget, they don't explain, they're simply present, calm, and unbothered. That kind of energy demands respect because it's not asking for it. It's commanding it without trying. In time, she'll remember that words can be argued with, but silence can't. Silence leaves space for reflection, and reflection often brings discomfort. She might replay moments in her head, wondering when she lost the version of you who would fight to be heard. And slowly, she'll understand that you didn't disappear. You just decided that your peace was worth more than proving a point. That's the quiet truth of Stoic strength. You don't need to shout your worth, you live it. And those who see it will respect it or lose it. And once they lose it, they'll understand just how loud your silence really was. So before we move on, take a moment to think about what silence means in your own life. It's a decision to value your energy, your clarity, and your dignity above winning an argument or proving a point. And sometimes that decision speaks louder than anything you could ever say. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment sharing your own experiences or simply type, "My dignity lives in silence," if you've ever felt the power of holding back. Thus, weight of losing your attention. Number 8, the weight of losing your attention. Attention is more than glances, messages, or conversations. It's a form of currency and one of the rarest kinds. When you give someone your attention, you're giving them your time, your focus, and your energy. 3 things you can never truly get back. Seneca was right when he said that our time is our own, and to waste it is the greatest loss we can suffer. For a while, she may have been the primary recipient of that gift. She grew used to it, even depended on it without always realizing its value. But the moment you stop giving it freely, the absence hits harder than any argument ever could. In the beginning, she might dismiss it. She tells herself, "You're just busy or distracted." But soon she notices the difference. The good morning texts aren't there. The little check-ins throughout the day have vanished. The shared laughter over something trivial isn't happening anymore. And what fills that gap isn't anger or resentment. It's emptiness. She doesn't miss the messages themselves. She misses what they meant. That she mattered enough for you to pause your world for her. The truth is, when you were giving her your attention without condition, you were enriching her life in ways that went beyond words. You made her feel seen, heard, and prioritized. Now that your focus has shifted to your work, your health, your passions, she begins to feel the weight of what's missing. It's not about punishment. It's about the natural consequence of your decision to stop pouring into something that no longer feeds you in return. This is where the Stoic mindset plays a role. A Stoic man understands that his attention is not infinite. He invests it wisely, directing it toward people and pursuits that align with his values. When someone no longer meets that standard, he doesn't rage or complain. He simply withdraws the investment. There's no drama, no grand speech, just a quiet redirection of his focus toward what truly matters. Over time, she'll realize that attention is never guaranteed. Once it's gone, it's not easily reclaimed because regaining it means rebuilding the trust and respect that made it possible in the first place. And that's when the full weight settles in your attention wasn't justness to have. It was a rare privilege. Freedom from her reactions. Number 9, freedom from her reactions. When you react in anger, you're still tethered to her. Every word she says, every tone she takes, every move she makes can pull you one way or the other. In that state, you're not steering your own ship. You're letting her emotions dictate your course. It might feel like you're standing your ground, but in reality, you're dancing to a rhythm she controls. The moment you step away from that cycle, When you stop letting her moods decide yours, you reclaim something far more valuable than the satisfaction of having the last word. You reclaim your freedom. Indifference isn't coldness for the sake of cruelty. It's detachment for the sake of clarity. You're not shutting down. You're stepping back. You're choosing to see the bigger picture instead of getting lost in the fog of the moment. When Shetri's to provoke a reaction and is met with calm, the power dynamic shifts. She's no longer the puppeteer pulling strings. You've cut the strings entirely. And that's a change she can feel whether she admits it or not, when you decide that her anger, frustration, or attempts at manipulation no longer determine your mental state. You become a man. She can't easily shake. You move from being reactive to being deliberate, from being pulled to standing firm. It's not just about gaining respect from her. It's about respecting yourself. Every time you hold on to your composure, you're reinforcing to yourself that you're in control. And control, once solidified, becomes very difficult to take away. This isn't the kind of respect that comes from fear or intimidation. It's the respect given to someone who clearly governs his own world. Over time, she'll notice that her usual methods no longer work. The buttons she used to press now do nothing. The reactions she used to expect are gone. She might test you again, hoping for the old version of you to resurface. But when she finds only calm conviction, she'll have no choice but to adjust or risk losing you entirely. That's the beauty of this freedom. It doesn't depend on her changing. It depends on you deciding. And once you've made that decision, her moods, her storms, and her drama are just weather passing by. You're the mountain that remains unmoved. The power she can't touch. Number 10, the power she can't touch. Indifference is often mistaken for coldness, as if you've stopped feeling altogether. But the truth is, it's not the absence of emotion. It's the mastery of it. You still feel. You still care about what matters. But you've decided that not everything deserves a place in your mind. That decision is where their real strength lies. It's not a withdrawal born of bitterness, but a conscious act of self-preservation. You've chosen to guard your mental space, to protect your peace like a treasure. She may have once held influence over you. Her words could lift you up or tear you down. Her moods might have dictated yours. Her approval might have been something you chased without realizing it. But now that's changed. You've built something around yourself, not a wall of fear, but a fortress of clarity. It's made of discipline, self-respect, and an unshakable understanding of your own worth. And no matter how hard she pushes, no matter what she says or does, she can't breach it. From a Stoic perspective, this is living exactly as Marcus Aurelius advised. You have power over your mind, not outside events. The outside events can be her criticism, her distance, her games, her praise, even her affection. All of it used to sway you like wind in the trees. But now you're the rooted oak, steady, unmoved, weathering, whatever comes without losing your shape. And here's the part that leaves the deepest mark. She knows she no longer has access to that power. She can't pull you into a fight just to feel connected to you. She can't withhold affection to make you chase. She can't hand out approval and watch you light up like it's a gift. All of those levers she once knew how to pull no longer work because your sense of worth no longer lives in her hands. Over time, that realization can be harder to accept than any angry goodbye. Anger can be dismissed as a phase. Coldness can be thawed with enough effort. But true indifference rooted in self-control and self-respect feels permanent. It's not that you've locked her out. It's that you've stopped depending on her for the key. That's the power she can't touch. And when a man reaches that point, he's not just free from her influence, he's free. Period. And that freedom? It's the only thing she'll remember long after theirs fades. Indifference isn't ice, it's conclusion intention. It's choosing clarity over chaos, purpose over proving a point. When you stop feeding the fire, refusato play the old script, and let your calm do the talking, the balance shifts. She meets the mirror of her own actions, and you meet the man you were, supposed to be. Steadier, quieter, harder to shake. That's not distance for the sake of ego. It's self-respect in action. It's the Stoic move. Protect your inner citadel, govern your reactions. And let your standards, not your feelings, in the moment set the tone of your life. As you close this video, give yourself one small promise. Reclaim a piece of your attention tonight. Put it into your training, your craft, your mission. Something that builds you. If a test comes, meet it with steady eyes and slow breathing. Not every spark deserves wood. Not every word deserves a reply. Calm is the boundary that guards your peace and reminds the world you're neither to be controlled. You're here to be consistent. If this resonated, please like the video. Share your takeaway in the comments. And when you're ready to keep sharpening this mindset, watch their commended videos on screen. They'll take you deeper into silence, boundaries, and purpose.